Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
Informal terms for a young woman. Badminton equipment consisting of a ball of cork or rubber with a crown of feathers. A cry or noise made to express displeasure or contempt. Watch and study birds in their natural habitat. The flesh of a bird or fowl, wild or domestic, used as food. Warm-blooded egg-laying vertebrates characterized by feathers and forelimbs modified as wings. Informal terms for a young woman. Young bird, especially of domestic fowl. Informal terms for a young woman. A woman of refinement. Informal terms for a young woman. A small replica of a person, used as a toy. Avoid or try to avoid fulfilling, answering, or performing duties, questions, or issues. She skirted the problem. Extend on all sides of simultaneously, encircle. Informal terms for a young woman. Fungi, a remnant of the partial veil that in mature mushrooms surrounds the stem like a collar. A garment hanging from the waist, worn mainly by girls and women. Cloth covering that forms the part of a garment below the waist. Form the edge of. Pass around or about. Move along the border. The boat skirted the coast. Informal terms for a young woman. Frequent prostitutes. Badminton equipment consisting of a ball of cork or rubber with a crown of feathers. Golf. A score of 1 stroke under par on a hole. Shoot in 1 stroke under par. Badminton equipment consisting of a ball of cork or rubber with a crown of feathers. Bobbin that passes the weft thread between the warp threads. Public transport that consists of a bus or train or airplane that flies back and forth between 2 points. Travel back and forth between 2 points. Badminton equipment consisting of a ball of cork or rubber with a crown of feathers. Send or toss to and fro, like a shuttlecock. A cry or noise made to express displeasure or contempt. Show displeasure, as after a performance or speech. A cry or noise made to express displeasure or contempt. Make a sharp hissing sound, as if to show disapproval. A fricative sound, especially as an expression of disapproval. The performers could not be heard over the hissing of the audience. Express or utter with a hiss. Move with a whooshing sound. A cry or noise made to express displeasure or contempt. Show displeasure, as after a performance or speech. Something of little value. A cry or noise made to express displeasure or contempt. A loud raucous cry, as of an owl. To utter a loud clamorous shout. The toughs and blades of the city hoot and bang their drums, drink arrack, play dice, and dance. Utter the characteristic sound of owls. A cry or noise made to express displeasure or contempt. Woody brambles bearing usually red but sometimes black or yellow fruits that separate from the receptacle when ripe and are rounder and smaller than blackberries. Red or black edible aggregate berries usually smaller than the related blackberries. Harass with persistent criticism or carping. His fellow workers razzed him when he wore a jacket and tie. A cry or noise made to express displeasure or contempt. A cry or noise made to express displeasure or contempt. Inhale recreational drugs. The addict was snorting cocaine almost every day. Inhale through the nose. A disrespectful laugh. A cry or noise made to express displeasure or contempt. Indicate contempt by breathing noisily and forcefully through the nose. She snorted her disapproval of the proposed bridegroom. Make a snorting sound by exhaling hard. The critic snorted contemptuously. Watch and study birds in their natural habitat. A domesticated gallinaceous bird thought to be descended from the red jungle fowl. The flesh of a bird or fowl, wild or domestic, used as food. Hunt fowl. Hunt fowl in the forest. A young female. A girl or young woman with whom a man is romantically involved. His girlfriend kicked him out. A young female. A youthful female person. The baby was a girl. A female human offspring. A friendly informal reference to a grown woman. Mrs. Smith was just one of the girls. A young female. A young lady of 18. A young female. Fail to perceive or to catch with the senses or the mind. I missed that remark. Fail to experience. Fortunately, I missed the hurricane. A young female. Be without. There is something missing in my jewelry box. Leave undone or leave out. How could I miss that typo? A failure to hit, or meet or find, etc. A form of address for an unmarried woman. Fail to attend an event or activity. I missed the concert. Fail to reach. The arrow missed the target. Fail to reach or get to. She missed her train. Feel or suffer from the lack of. He misses his mother. A young female. Equipment for playing the game of badminton. Utter a sudden loud cry. I yelled to her from the window but she couldn't hear me. Utter or declare in a very loud voice. You don't have to yell. I can hear you just fine. A loud utterance of emotion, especially when inarticulate. A yell of pain. A loud utterance, often in protest or opposition. Assign a specified, usually proper name to. Make a prediction about. Tell in advance. Order, request, or command to come. She was called into the director's office. Utter a sudden loud cry. Pay a brief visit. The mayor likes to call on some of the prominent citizens. The option to buy a given stock, or stock index or commodity future, at a given price before a given date. A demand by a broker that a customer deposit enough to bring his margin up to the minimum requirement. A demand especially in the phrase. The call of duty. A telephone connection. She reported several anonymous calls. A loud utterance, often in protest or opposition. Greet, as with a prescribed form, title, or name. She calls him by first name. Demand payment of a loan. Give the calls to the dancers for a square dance. Get or try to get into communication with someone by telephone. I tried to call you all night. The characteristic sound produced by a bird. Make a demand, as for a card or a suit or a show of hands. He called his trump. A brief social visit. Senior professors' wives no longer make afternoon calls on newcomers. A demand for a show of hands in a card game. After 2 raises there was a call. An instruction that interrupts the program being executed. Pascal performs calls by simply giving the name of the routine to be executed. A request. Many calls for Christmas stories. Ascribe a quality to or give a name of a common noun that reflects a quality. He called me a bastard. A special disposition, as if from a divine source, to pursue a particular course. A visit in an official or professional capacity. The pastor's calls on his parishioners. Call a meeting. Invite or command to meet. The 1C conference was called to discuss the final solution. Challenge somebody to make good on a statement, charge with or censure for an offense. He deserves to be called on that. Challenge the sincerity or truthfulness of. Call the speaker on a question of fact. Consider or regard as being. I would not call her beautiful. Declare in the capacity of an umpire or referee. Call a runner out. Indicate a decision in regard to. Call balls and strikes behind the plate. Lure by imitating the characteristic call of an animal. Make a stop in a harbor. The ship will call in Honolulu tomorrow. Order or request or give a command for. The unions called a general strike for Sunday. Order, summon, or request for a specific duty or activity, work, role. He was already called 4 times for jury duty. Read aloud to check for omissions or absentees. Require the presentation of for redemption before maturation. Rouse somebody from sleep with a call. I was called at 5 a.m. this morning. Send a message or attempt to reach someone by radio, phone, etc. Make a signal in order to transmit a message. Hawaii is calling. Sports, the decision made by an umpire or referee. He was ejected for protesting the call. Stop or postpone because of adverse conditions, such as bad weather. Call a football game. Utter a characteristic note or cry. Blue jays called to one another. Utter in a loud voice or announce. He called my name. A loud utterance, often in protest or opposition. Utter a sudden loud cry. Utter aloud, often with surprise, horror, or joy. I'm here, the mother shouted when she saw her child looking lost. Use foul or abusive language towards. The angry mother shouted at the teacher. A loud utterance, often in protest or opposition. Utter in a loud voice. Talk in a loud voice, usually denoting characteristic manner of speaking. My grandmother is hard of hearing. You'll have to shout. Utter aloud. Often with surprise, horror, or joy. Shout louder than. A loud utterance, often in protest or opposition.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.